Hey, Brandon, can you hear me okay? I mean,
Hey,
wait. Am I allowed to say Brandon or your baby Fuzz?
doesn't matter. You can call me Jennifer if you want to. I have a couple different names. It's like a onion layer. You can pick and choose.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're speaking to a professional wrestler, because I interview a lot of wrestlers. You're like, do I call him by his wrestling name,
Yeah,
his wrestling nickname, his real name, and then are we talking to him in character or not? That's
yeah,
super confusing, and you're almost like the producer equivalent of that at this point.
yeah. I guess I'll be Brandon for this for now, and I'll be I'll be out of character. I'll be me. Baby
Well,
Fuzz is a character, but it's like a little bit of more of a gray area where it's like more of, you know, get into a costume and turn it on kind of.
yeah, I mean, because there's that, and then of course there's Sterling, who you've now been for what, 8 years, 10 years? You've been Sterling.
Yeah, Brandon is Sterling, and Sterling is Baby Fuzz. So there's like two different pseudonym layers at this point into my madness.
Yeah, I mean, Desmond Child only has that one alter ego. I'm not aware of like a Desmond Child alter ego. I don't think Diane Warren has one. Do you mind that I'm putting your name on those people's levels?
No, I would be honored. I mean, I don't personally think I'm on their level, but I mean, I those are people I really look up to as songwriters and producers. So that'd be, I guess I'm old enough that maybe I'm in the same kind of like bracket, but I those are like super successful people, and I mean, I really look up to them.
Well, hey, when you're negotiating a publishing deal and you get to have clauses in there that are specialized to you, I think you're adjacent to that level.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's no longer just 90-10 or 80-20 or 50-50. It's now, and you have to have this many cuts, but I have approval. When did things start turning around for you that you sort of got to call your own shots?
From a publishing standpoint,
Sure. So we are going to talk about the Baby Fuzz album and all that. But of course, people, I would think, mostly learned about you first as a writer and a producer.
yeah, it really depends who you talk to. I mean, if you're in the music industry, probably, or if you've been around for a while in the music industry and kind of like the recording studio scene or songwriter scene, then yeah. But if you just know about Baby Fuzz in the last couple of years and you're just like a fan or found me on Spotify, then you don't really care about any of that or don't even are aware of it. So there's definitely like two parts in the career at this point. So like the writer kind of industry part of the career would be just kind of being a songwriter and a producer for other artists and working with other artists, on their records. And that's something I did for a really long time. If the viewers weren't aware, it was, maybe 10 years on and off of kind of doing a lot of hands-on work with artists, writing songs with them, and got a chance to work with some like amazing people over the years, like really talented top writers in the game, like Max Martin, Madonna, the list goes on. But that's kind of like one aspect of my career that's kind of it's kind of like one part of it. And yet that's kind of the part where, was dealing with like publishing and all that stuff.
So is the goal to just be known as your own artist and make that what your living is? Or do you hope to have a dual existence for the rest of your life?
Well, the thing for me is I'm a musician. So I've always been a musician. When I was first starting out, I was in punk rock bands playing in VFW halls. It wasn't like I was always Mr. Producer, writer in a studio. Right. I had a life before that too, where I was in like probably 10 to 12 different bands, was touring around. None of them ever were notable, but there was also a period of a couple years where I was like heavily in the musical theater scene in New York, trying to be like a Broadway music director, and was doing a lot of off-Broadway shows. So there's been phases even before that. And I think the thing for me is I always try to keep pushing forward musically with what I'm doing, or trying to challenge myself. And after doing something for a good many years, which is like writing and producing for other people, it kind of was getting a little stale. So I wanted to challenge myself with, all right, what's next? And when you get to the point where you can write the song and produce the song and mix the song and basically master it, it's like, all right, well, I can sing on it. Let's just let's just do everything. So I'm an artist now, and I run a little indie label. So it's basically like, yeah, I can do it all at this point. And it's like a nicer challenge for me, because like it is more of an uphill battle. But it's challenging, and I enjoy it, because it's like, I feel like now finally the last few years I've been able to kind of express myself artistically a lot more easily than I was before. Before, when you're writing for bigger artists, not so much now, but historically in the last decade, there's a lot of people involved. Like, they're signed to Universal, which is a multinational corporation worth billions of dollars. And if you're going to put a big single out, it's a product. And there's a lot of people,
right,
not pulling strings. Obviously, still the artist is the artist, but there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, I guess. And there's a lot of things that can get in the way of artistic expression through music once you're dealing with that many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so I like where I'm at now. I can put out music and, whatever. If people don't like it, that's fine. Or if they do, cool. And I can still write with artists if I want. It's a little tricky now with COVID, but, Skype sessions are going on, and Zoom sessions. So yeah, I actually feel like more connected to like the real music scene, in the United States at least, than I was when I was kind of doing a lot of the session writing right now.
Yeah, you mentioned something that I had no idea about. You actually did the mastering on stuff as well?
Yeah, I've mastered songs before. I mean, not a lot of the, not a lot for bigger artists, but for stuff that I release on my label, which is up to like 100 releases now, I master about half of them. So yeah, I've done that. And a lot of the Baby Fuzz records, I will get mastered, and then I'll kind of mess with them more and remaster them. Or I'm always like in the weeds on stuff. If there's something that's bugging me, I'll just get in there and mess with it. So that's kind of like how I like to work. I'm not doing like a ton of mixing and mastering, but yeah, that's something I'll like get into if I feel like it's needed.
Are you still calling Montreal home these days?
No, I was in Montreal until around end 2017. And then I've been in the States since then, kind of just bouncing around a lot, traveling a lot. Have been living for short periods of time in like Portland, LA, San Francisco, Austin. Currently I'm in Panama City, Florida.
Spring break capital of the U.S., was that?
I don't know. There's nobody here right now. It's pretty dead. I think it's like the winter season. So I'm here for a couple weeks, and then I'm going to visit my parents. They live in Florida for the holidays here. So I'm kind of just on my way there. I have my all my gear here. So I have like a mobile rig that I'll set up for a few weeks and do a little work. And I have like my tour van, which I drive around in, and I can't tour right now, but it's got all my recording equipment that I'll set up, and work on stuff.
That is such an interesting existence where you keep going place to place. You have a lot of stuff, but it's condensed almost down to a science. It sounds like you could pack and be out the door in 5 minutes if you really need to.
It's about 2 hours. I have it down to a science. It's about 2 hours, and that depends like if I bring in my 5 or 6 guitars or not. Right now I just have like my basic setup because I'm really in like the very final stages of like mixing a record. So it's just speakers and a computer and some little stuff, outboard gear. But yeah, I can get my stuff set up pretty quickly. It's definitely mobile. I don't like the whole confines of like a huge recording studio and tons of wiring and a giant desk. I prefer like a more mobile setup, and I get really like what's the word?
Stir crazy.
Stir crazy, yeah. So if I'm in a place more than a couple of months, I will just be like, I got to get out of here. And I really lose motivation to like work. I get in like these ruts. So if I keep myself moving around, it keeps me inspired to push forward with the music. I hope that changes. It's not something I really enjoy all the time. I definitely would like to kind of have more of a settled existence, but last year I was touring the entire year, And the year before I was like in back and forth from Canada. So I think, in the future I do want to settle at some point, but it's just been really tough the last few years.
Usually when you're talking to a musician, the most dreadful question you could ever ask them is, so what are your influences? That kind of thing. But I'm curious about your influences for this mobile kind of existence because, to bring them up for a second time, Desmond Child, for example, he is somebody I had the pleasure of interviewing last month, and he was great and honest and all that. But he's kind of got this team or empire. So it seems like he's delegating everything, and it's specifically going to be done in this studio. And you seem to be doing the exact opposite, where you're doing almost all the stuff yourself, or at least you can.
Yeah.
And you go, well, we're moving, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do have there's no team really, but I do have a couple key people, at least with Baby Fuzz, that I work with. I'm one mixer, a mastering guy, and a couple programmers, kind of like co-producers, assistant producers. But they're scattered all over. One of my big programmer guys for this album's in Rhode Island. He has like a little pop-up studio there. My mixing guy that I worked on the last album with, and part of this album, is in New York, and there's another guy in New Jersey. Mastering guy is John Greenham, who's in LA, and there's a few people that are overseas, back and forth, and so yeah, they're scattered. So it's just an internet collaboration with those people. I don't have anybody I'm traveling with that's part of the team or anything. It's just me. And then for the label, for my little indie label, there are people that sign to there all over the world. It's like Europe and Australia and China, and there's not a ton of them, and that's like something I've been trying to grow the last year or so. That's kind of coming into fruition. But yeah, those are just purely internet collaborations on that front.
And then the album is going to be called Welcome to the Future.
Yeah, that's the second album here. The idea for this one, just because I'm slow, is break it up into two sections. So there's going to be season 1 and season 2, as a la Netflix show.
Sure.
Season 1, which is like 8 songs or so, is coming probably around New Year's. I don't have a date picked yet because I'm a little lazy, but
Wait, you just called yourself lazy? I think that is the least descriptive way to describe who you are or what you do, because it seems like everything actually gets done. It's so bizarre to hear you call yourself lazy.
I guess so. Maybe by my standards. When I look back at other points in my life, I'm like, oh, I feel kind of lazy right now. But I guess, yeah, I got one more song I just need to finish for this album, and I'm just kind of like, gotta get through it here. So I'm trying to finish it in the next week or two, and then at that point, the rest of it's done, mastered, so I can get the date and push it out. And then the second half of the album, season 2, will come next year sometime. Kind of did it this way because the touring thing is a big question mark, and I don't know what's going on with that. So give myself some more room here to push some more music out. And that's pretty much what I'm up to on that front for Baby Fuzz. The writing's pretty slow right now. There's not a lot. There's, a couple potential collaborations with like Gus Dapperton and a few other, but I don't know if they're going to happen or not. So kind of just doing this, and there's a little cult fan base for it. So it's really rewarding for me.
When you are writing for your own projects, do you have to write 40 songs to pare it down to 15, or is it if there's 15, you wrote 16?
No, there's more. So a lot of the songs I do for this project are old demos that I recycle. A good example of that is this song "Before Our Time." Originally wrote it with the artist LP.
Oh yeah.
Female pop artist. Potentially for her album, which was like a year ago. Didn't make the album, so I was like, oh, I like this song, and I was singing on the demo, and so I kind of recycled it. I wrote some verses myself and kind of put it through my world a little bit, and ended up recycling that one for Baby Fuzz, and that's not a Baby Fuzz song. And so a lot of the songs in the first album were like that. They were kind of like reject demos that no artist ever recorded that I wrote for other people, and kind of just put them into my rock tumbler and spit them back out as Baby Fuzz songs. So that's why, like, stylistically, the project's a little hodgepodge. But hopefully there's like some connecting lines between the songs. But I do like that every song's a little bit different. Keeps people interested.
And you just mentioned LP, who's another artist I've had the pleasure of interviewing. Very interesting career path that in a way mirrors yours, where some people think of her as a solo artist, other people think of her as the person who wrote for the Backstreet Boys and top pop artists and all that. But I'm sure that she would rather be a performer and not somebody writing for the big people per se. But do you just have hundreds of songs that have gone through not the rock tumbler, but the pre-rock tumbler?
Yeah, I have hard drives with hundreds of songs. Most of them are trash, I'll admit. Like really bad songs that you would just be embarrassed to ever play anybody. Hold on a second. I'm going to move inside here because I feel like my computer's about to melt.
Yeah, me too. The fan is going crazy. People don't talk about those laptop problems.
Yeah, it's really hot. So, yeah, there's a lot of music that's sitting around, and most of it's really bad. But you know, sometimes like for this album, I went through and there's like 2 or 3 where I'm like, this could kind of work with the concept I'm going for on this album. So I kind of will revive stuff. And there's a song called Weekend Blues I put out back in June, and that song's 10 years old. I started working on that 10 years ago, and I finally finished it. Not that I was working on it the whole time, obviously, but it was like an idea and a demo, and kind of eventually saw it through. So yeah, that happens a lot for me. Some of them I'll just write and then like finish in a week, and they're brand new. But not always.
So every song is its own beast, to say the least. That's what it sounds like. But you also sound like somebody who, even though you called yourself lazy, it sounds like you're creating something in some form every day, even if it's not just a completed song.
I'm not creating every day, actually. I wish I was. I'm not that. I'll go through a few months where I'm creating, and then I'll go through a few months where I'm just working on artwork, editing a music video. You know, I'll go into all that stuff too. Or with my label, I'll be trying to help somebody else promoting songs. You know, I don't have a manager or a label right now, so a lot of it's like business shit. And yeah, it's not like I wish I was sitting there creating every day, but that's a pretty steep hill for me to climb to be able to be focused enough to do that. I actually like to do other stuff too.
And that's the thing that I was going to ask you next, coincidentally. What do you do when you're not busy with all the music?
I play video games. I play a lot of video games, I got to be honest. I play like Fortnite, League of Legends.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting pretty good at League of Legends this year in quarantine. Gotta say, I'm getting up there. I'm not going to be a pro, but you know, I'm getting up there in the rankings.
Are you a little Stadia guy?
Stadia. I don't have Stadia. No, my girlfriend had it. I just mainly, I'll go through, you know, it was Red Dead last year. I went through the whole game, and I haven't played Red Dead in a while, so it's Fortnite and League now.
Any thoughts on the new video game Fuser?
Fuser?
Yeah.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
Fuser is basically like a rock band, except you're DJing now, and I think it's out this week.
Whoa. What system?
Every system, including Steam, except Stadia and maybe the new Amazon one.
Dude, I got to check that out. Sounds great. I mean, I love Rock Band. I'm terrible at it, but I love that game. I see the Pac-Man machine there. It looks like you're a bit of a gamer as well.
Yeah, somebody's got to be. Somebody's got to cover interesting stuff that isn't about world destruction, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, for me, it's been like, I like the competitive games. You know, Red Dead was cool because it was like really holistic. But I'm into the competitive games because it makes me feel connected to other people. Like we can talk shit, be like, yeah, whatever, you know, or get on the headset. And in the quarantine, like, it's really tough to feel connected, especially I'm kind of like, I don't have a ton of friends. Like, I don't have a big friend circle. It's just been really tough to do that because I haven't been in one place. So the gaming is nice for me because it's a little bit of connectivity to people, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm, in a cell or something.
Well said. Well, when you join the Rocket League universe, we'll have to team up there.
Yeah, I haven't played Rocket League yet. I want to, but I just feel like I know how bad I'm going to be, and it's so frustrating when you play a game and you're really bad. I've spent a lot of time just getting to the beginner level of Fortnite to where like I can build a box now, and I'm like, oh yeah, that took hours and hours. So,
Well, I'd say that's really interesting to hear all that, because usually you find video games are the one thing that unites everybody. There's very few things that people like. Everyone likes the Beatles, pizza, unless they're lactose intolerant or avoiding carbs, The Simpsons, video games. That's kind of it at this point. So, you got time for 2 quick questions, and then you're a free man?
Sure. Yeah, I have time.
Aside from anything that you've written or produced, best album of 2020?
Best album of 2020.
And if there is none, you can say pass.
Was Punisher this year? The Phoebe Bridgers? I feel like that was last year. It's hard for me to keep track of the release dates. I'm gonna look real quick. I would say Punisher if it was. There we go. 2020 June 18th. That's Phoebe Bridgers' Punisher album. That was the best album of the year, I think. A lot of people would say that too. Just the songwriting on it is really good. Lyrically, excellent. I also really like the new Lemon Twigs album, which dropped a few months ago. Although it's not quite a complete album yet. Like Punisher feels like that's going to be a classic album where, at the end of the decade, they're going to be like top 100 albums of the decade. Like that's definitely going to be on there. Lemon Twigs album's cool, but you have Phoebe Bridgers on that one.
And the closer, whether it's from Brandon, it's from Sterling Fox, it's from Baby Fuzz, whoever it is answering this question, any last words for the kids?
For the kids, man, keep the faith. Today, it's important to keep moving forward with your life, with your career, with politics, with social stuff. It's been a really crazy year, but keep moving, keep pushing forward, and try not to get down. I mean, that's the struggle for everybody, no matter where you're at in life. So keep going. Well said. Well, keep doing what you're doing. It's really great to see how prolific you are. You might think it's lazy. I don't think it's lazy. So looking forward to that finished album. Thanks for having me. My Paltrocast.